the Cathedral of St Peter and St Paul at Clifton, and behind me you can see the work of Henry Haigh, and this was his only known Dalle de Verre window, or windows I should say. So this is where the story for me begins, because of my connection with Henry Haigh and the family, and the fact that I was lucky enough to get the residual glass from this window made in the early 1970s. So let's go in and have a look and see where we begin around the country. Henry Haigh was one of 28 artists who created Dalle de Verre windows in the UK. These men and women, mostly English or French, created some outstanding piece of ecclesiastic art in glass, and Henry's work is my favourite. This project was born out of a realisation that Dalle de Verre stained glass is unknown to most of the nation as a unique art glass form, and to present a case for its value not only as a craft, but that these windows have a real cultural value. The majority of its use was for windows in parish churches and cathedrals like this one, of both Anglican and Catholic faiths, along with a few synagogues, all built after 1955. We're now going to go for a trip across England and look at the first of 4 parish churches that have Dalle de Verre stained glass, and a story to tell. So we'll begin by travelling from this amazing space in Bristol to Buckinghamshire and the village of Britwell. This is St George's in Britwell, built in 2008, 3 years after the 1960 concrete church was demolished. That building had probably one of the largest known Dalle de Verre windows in a parish church, and as you can see from this photo, it appears that some part of that window has been kept and made a part of the new church. Let's go and investigate further and see if there is a case that can be used elsewhere for applying such action to other churches in similar circumstances. The original window was designed in 1960 by Pierre Formanteau, who was the most prolific Dalle de Verre designer in the UK and worked exclusively for Whitefriars Glass in London. Here in the 2008 church are what remains from a much larger window originally made up of 45 panels, most of which were the size of the 4 individual ones you see here. The centre of the window showed St George holding the Christ child with vertical panels either side that depicted 8 kings, 2 of which have been kept. These king panels were interspersed with 8 abstract panels like the ones seen here. The concrete church, built in 1960, was demolished in 2005, but thankfully some of the parishioners from that period are still living and communing in the new church. So let's go and have a chat with one of them now about their memories of that magnificent window.
76 years I've lived in Britwell.
That's a long time.
It is a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So you saw the old church falling apart and get demolished.
Yes.
Was it a kind of church that you really kind of felt a connection with?
Yes, I did, yeah.
As Elsie was saying, with many years of repairs behind it, the 45-year-old fabric of the building was in such a poor state that it was no longer structurally sound. The decision was taken to demolish it and build a new church, but thankfully it was decided to keep some of the Dalle de Verre panels. These photos from 2005 show the church being demolished and somehow the huge Dalle de Verre window of St George clinging to life, as if determined to remain strong and vigilant until the very last possible moment and ride the dragons of demolition through to the end. Things change, don't they?
Yeah.
But it's good that we keep some of the old things.
It is, because you see them, memories come back, and then you remember how you contributed or how you liked it, and all the people you met, the people you knew, the congregation members that you've come to know over the years.
Do you think if those windows weren't there, something would be lost in the kind of way that you remember things of the old church?
Oh yes, for me, if they weren't there.
So, St George's Britwell, the church that interests me, was built in the mid-1960s, and it had a very, very large Dalle de Verre window at one end. 4 panels that were kept once the church was demolished in 2005 and put into the new church. 2 of them you see behind me. Gives you an idea of the scale once we look at the full design. Basically, we had images of 6 kings running up and down the sides of the panels. This is just one of them, interspersed by random designs. And these are all made with dowels that have not been faceted. The fronts and the backs are completely flat, and they've been set into what appears to be a concrete matrix, as I assume from outside, and that you can actually feel the texture of the actual aggregate within it. Interestingly, that has not done any damage to the dowels. So if this is the original aggregate, one supposes that the strengthening bars were put inside were probably brass and not steel, and the brass obviously is not affected by any water that gets into the concrete the way the steel is. But just to give you an idea of the proportion of the original windows, you can see these panels are a fair size, probably the best part of a metre tall. This is the original design. Now here you can see we have these panels running down the side, and this one here is in fact the king here, and the one on this side is one of these. But this was the entire window at the far end of the original church. If that is approximately a metre, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, a 9 metre window, which is obviously quite magnificent, and it's a real shame that it had to be lost when the church was demolished. What we do know is, as well as the 4 panels that are here, there are other panels that were kept and put in storage, and we'll go and have a look at those now. So this is one of the other panels that came out of the 1960s church. You can see it's concrete construction. We've got concrete that's breaking off or is broken off in places here. So it gives an indication of the possible damage that was prevalent throughout the rest of them. We can see at this side again you've got the concrete aggregate from the inside of the panel. It's in really good condition considering its age. But we obviously have no idea what some of it was like and how bad some of it got due to water ingress. So there are 4 more of these panels still in storage, which is really nice to see, and hopefully there's some opportunity at some time in the future for these to be out and be seen by the congregation as well. One might consider 45 years a good innings for a concrete building, one that was built very quickly and with limited funds during a building explosion throughout the UK. But if we are prepared to pay millions to keep our great Norman, Perpendicular, Early English, Wren and even Victorian Gothic churches and cathedrals in perpetuity, then why can't funds be found for these little churches whose congregations love them? Why must they be relegated to destruction and replacement when their fabric is failing? St George's is one of many churches built in the decades after the Second World War that have been pulled down due to construction problems. But I suspect that few had such a spectacular Dalle de Verre window as it did. We are left with 8 of 45 panels. The complete ecclesiastic message it provided has been lost. But according to Elsie, just having 4 of those panels is enough to evoke memories of significant times past and friends who have moved on. They provide for her a connection to her faith and her past that would otherwise be lost. A significant part of her heritage within the culture she loves. I believe that Elsie's message to us is that what remains of this Dalle de Verre window is an important artefact, even though what we have left is dissonant when compared to the original.